Goodwill hunting, yeah, that's right. There's a lot of goodwill that needs to be built back up after what we saw the other day because Mac Jones, for instance, he took a flamethrower to the goodwill he built up with suckers like me on Sunday. Welcome to Quick Slants. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick's been gradually chiseling away at the Everest of goodwill that he built up over 20 seasons. Now the feeling that Mac won't become what I thought he could be and that Bill isn't who he used to be, it's never been more palpable. Sunday wasn't an aberration. We're starting to realize that. It was the culmination. Patriots are 1-3 now. They're 9-12 since the start of last year. They're 10-16 since that stupid wind game win against the Bills in 2021 that made me say, they're back! This team is at a crossroads right now, and the GPS is not recalculating fast enough. Here's the game plan for the program. Dallas debacle, we got to go in depth, and we will. Oh, that's got to hurt. We're going to talk about those injuries to key defensive players. Oh, that's Rich. Rich Eisen's going to join us for a national perspective on the Patriots and Bill Belichick. And of course, we have to have polls and comments in a week like this. We also have to have my favorite guy rising with a bullet. It's Cerrone Battle. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It sounds like you're not doing too well at all.
Well, how you doing? I mean, you rather see this team win than lose. I think you're more of a realist than me. How you feeling this week?
Look, man, I was upset the way they lost that game. But if you went back to August and even September, we had this team sitting at 1-3 or 0-4, and that's with Aaron Rodgers possibly playing. So I think it was the way they lost more than them losing to a superior Dallas team that is a Super Bowl contender.
All right.
And we all said it was going to be a tough start for them, but then it was going to be a roller coaster season, and as the schedule lightened up in the middle. So yes, it stung that they lost that game in that fashion, but I think they still have an opportunity to turn some things around.
All right, you put this tweet up today. Let's take a look at this, folks. I'll read it for you. Adam Schefter mentions the injuries, and Cerrone jumps in with both feet. Oh, there's this young quarterback by the name of Caleb. He's out in California, and the cost to get him is just keep doing what you're doing. You don't mean that, do you, Cerrone?
Hey, look, they need to come up with a game plan. Are you trying to win these games, or are you trying to prepare for the future? Are you trying to build around Mac Jones, or are you looking beyond him? And if you want to be in play for that top quarterback, keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting bums out there on the field and go from there. But if you want to compete, then you need to change up what you're doing to change your game plan and get guys back on the field and see if you can turn things around.
And do that right quick. All right, speaking of quick, it's time now for Quick Fire, presented by your local New England Honda dealers. Here's Bill Belichick. I mentioned that loss, actually a different loss to the Bills in January of 22, right after the playoff loss, 47-17. Here's what Bill Belichick said about his team then.
Last night's game was the least competitive game that we played last year. So, again, is that what we are, or is that a bad night? We'll see when we start playing again next year, I guess.
All right. Now, since Bill has said that, the team has gone 9-12 in the interim. Dakota Randall from Nesson, he asked Bill about that comment and if he assesses the team similarly right now. Check this answer out from Monday.
Well, I guess we'll find out going forward. So that's really what'll determine it. Not anything that gets said or doesn't get said. Our performance will be what we are.
This is us, Cerrone. This is what they are. I mean, let's stop ducking it.
Yeah, you are who we thought you are. You're a middle-of-the-pack team that's an injury or two away from being at the bottom. And you're not on the elite level. You're an ACC team trying to win an SEC championship right now. And it's an evident there's tiers to NFL hierarchy, and they're not up there. Now when they get the Washingtons and the Raiders and the Colts and Denver and maybe the Chargers at this point, those are the games that they need to capitalize on to get themselves back in any type of, in serious contention for a playoff spot. But you are who we thought you were from even going back to that season.
All right, you mentioned tears. There's plenty of tears this week, especially for me, because you said they are who we thought they were. I really didn't think they were this. Listen to me. Last week,
the wins are everywhere. The wins are everywhere. Did you have the Philadelphia Eagles as being a potential win? Could have been. How about the Dolphins? Did you have that as a win? No, you didn't have that as a win. Same friggin' thing. So the wins are everywhere.
Do I need to stop? Do I need to cut it out?
No. No. Stand your ground. Stand your ground. The Saints is a winnable game. The Raiders are winnable games. The Commanders, the Colts, like I said, Denver, the Giants, the Chargers, those are all winnable games. So the hard thing is trying to steal one against these elite teams. You have 4 or 5 teams that are Super Bowl contenders, and you've played probably 3 of them. So the schedule is going to lighten up, and you are better than some of these other teams if you play up to your level. Now they're getting some guys back on, well, maybe. The Joneses could be coming back. You get Thornton coming off the pup list or whatever, and you might get some guys back that can help this team out, but you have to win those winnable games. If not, this is going to be a complete disaster.
And if you're going to win those winnable games, you got to get something out of your offense. Bill O'Brien was supposed to be, in my estimation, the magic bullet. Here's Bill O'Brien today speaking about Mac Jones' trails.
We've got to do a better job of coaching up some things with him a little bit better. He's got to do a better job of making good decisions for us. He knows that. He takes a lot of ownership. You guys saw that, I think, after the game. He blames himself. The game wasn't lost because of one guy. The game, was lost on our part because of how poorly we played and coached in the game.
I like the guy, but so far the offensive overall numbers haven't improved, even though some of the situational stuff has. What about Bob? His fault for any of this?
No, I wouldn't put this on him. Not too much. I mean, coming out of camp, the whole Thornton being out, the offensive line being banged up. We thought we'd get a lot more out of Douglas. He's hardly on the field as much as we think he should be. The running game hasn't really been there. And I think it's more of a talent issue than a coaching issue. The offense does look better. And as far as last week, there was one guy to blame. His name was Michael Parsons. He does that to quarterbacks. And I think we need to stop banging the Patriots' head to the ground so much on this and give credit to the Cowboys. They've done this in 3 of the 4 games this year, and they're going to continue to do this. And it was the Patriots' turn. When they didn't have a chance to keep it close early, that's what lost their confidence, and the game was over by halftime.
There was also a guy who was in charge of making sure that he built up all the battlements around Mac Jones, and he was standing on the sideline going like this for a portion of the game. All right, here's some of the ESPN, CBS, Sports Illustrated, NFL.com, and Athletic rankings for the Patriots, because always on Tuesday, it's power ranking day. Got no access to any team, so we have to go to something like this, and it's always convenient because you get to see, holy crap, they're way down. This is probably the lowest they've been since 2000, or the first 2 weeks of 2001. Deserve it? That's rank. That's a rank development.
They do. They kind of deserve it because of the record. It says 1-3, and they're coming off of one of their worst losses in a long time. So yes, on paper, they deserve it, but it's kind of like another college football reference. Do you get credit for losing to the SEC? Do you get credit for losing to the Eagles, losing to the Dolphins and Cowboys? I think that should count for something because they weren't getting blown out by bad teams. And yes, right now they deserve to be at the bottom, but I think they have a chance to right that as time goes on.
All right, so we see strength of schedule is in their favor, but the injury report will not be. Look at these guys, 2 of the best players on their team easily. I think Christian Gonzalez can make a case for being the best player at his particular position of any player on the team, and that's 3 games in. He's a Patriots Hall of Famer in waiting. I don't know, maybe I'm overboard. But now what? Both these guys are down. It's your 2 best defenders.
Hey, man, this team used to pride themselves in next man up.
You're right.
You drafted a Keon White. You drafted him a defensive. You got your defensive end replacement. He's already standing right there. Time to let him do his thing. Hopefully you get those other cornerbacks back, and the 3 can be better than that one player was as far as a team mentality. But, hey, next man up. It's up to the coach now. You got the greatest coach of all time. You have to coach the next guys up. And you have a soft schedule coming up now to where you can mask some of your deficiencies.
Important to remember, too, the Scott Pioli-built Patriots of the early 2000s. Yeah. They had more injured players than anybody in the history of the game, and they still won Super Bowls in 03 and 04. Time now for From the Stands. My poll results from today, they're presented by Shaw's Perfecting the Art of Fresh. I went right for the jugular. Since starting 2019 8-0, the Patriots are 24-31. Will Bill Belichick be part of the actual solution? Because there is a problem in Foxborough. Only 8% said, yeah, he's still got it. He'll be part of the solution. 21.7% say, yeah, he'll be part of it. Just give him more time. And then a combined 70% of respondents said a variation of no, I'm afraid he's lost it, and no, time to face the facts. Start off with my buddy Curran, just KO. She says, oof, this is a tough one. I want to believe yet a lot of brain power walked away. I'm not sure BB could do it alone, and he, like Mac, is trying to do too much. Stefano with a good observation. I've given BB the benefit of the doubt up until now. Give him until the end of the season. If it looks like the first 4 games, then big changes need to be discussed. I don't even think they need to be discussed. They might have to be enacted if it looks like this. Gordon, since the beginning of 2020, they're 19-2. Holy crap. You can read it for yourselves. Sweet Agnes. Tom, it's a small sample size. What's your take, man? What do you got on that?
Small sample size.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
come on now. I don't know about that one. I've seen coaches fired for less, put it like that. But I think it's time to make moves no matter how this works out. Or at least I think if you're going to do anything, you need to get a GM in there. You need somebody who can go in and find a style and an identity, something I've been begging for since August, and draft players to fit that style. If you're just throwing guys out there with no identity, we don't know what they're going to be week to week. And I think it's time to bring in a GM and build the team and create an identity. If Bill wants to be the head coach, let him be the head coach. But I think the GM part needs to be moved on to somebody else who can build a team.
I have a developing take that I'm going to unveil later in the week, but I'm going to tell you what it is right now. Everything invested in the offensive line, period, end of story. Build the best offensive line in the league, and then take your chances everywhere else. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for coming back. Growth Potential, brought to you by Dr. Matthew LaPresley. Look younger, feel younger, get your hair back with Leonard Hair Transplant Associates. Check this out. Our guy Warren Sharp had this stat out there. The percentage of drives ending in a punt or a turnover, and that's not good to be leading in. The Patriots have 71%, more than 7 out of 10 drives end up with a guy punting or the other team running around somewhere with it? Well, that sucks. Time now for my slant. Watch out! And I'll tell you, this is about Mac Jones, because I was able to live with the noodle arm and the mild tantrums and the occasional nut shot because McCorkle was a guy who didn't make bad things worse. A high floor. That's what I'd say. There's a lot to be said for that kind of guy. But our guy, he came undone in a critical game on the road. And he helped put the Patriots in a hole. And then he just kept on digging. 1-3 is a surprise to nobody. And Mac was actually pretty good in those losses to the Eagles and Dolphins. The only caveat to those performances for him were the turnovers that he was responsible for. The easiest path to a win on Sunday was just taking care of the ball, and Jones actively put it at risk in the most mind-bending ways possible. This wasn't just a bad day. It was aggravated assault on the quarterback position and Mac's own reputation. If you can't trust him to be smart, then what are you left with? Rex.
I've said it from jump, maybe the weakest arm for all starting quarterbacks in the league. I don't hate. I'm telling you, based on all the years, I've had to defend against everybody. I would love to defend against this guy. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy can't throw. To think this guy is going to take you to where you want to go, you're absolutely crazy.
I had a moment of clarity today talking on my podcast with the great Taylor Kiles. I want you to listen to it. There's no planet on which Bailey Zappi is better than Mac. But he can at least live by that Hippocratic oath that doctors do. First, do no harm. And Mac's taken to actively harming his team, right? Bill.
Sometimes in the heat of the moment, just trying to make a play and then, regret it afterwards. But, every quarterback's thrown interceptions, every quarterback's made bad decisions. So has every player and every coach that's ever played.
They all have, Bill. We get that. And we don't know that you understand that when you keep making them in succession, as he did on Sunday, to a point where you have to say, time to sit you down, you're a danger to everybody else and yourself, well, that's a problem. Mac's got fingerprints on the murder weapon in all 3 of the Patriots' losses. Zappi's not going to give the Patriots a better chance to win, but because he may not do something to cause them to lose, he might be preferential to Mac in some cases. Before Sunday, there was a big Mac camp that said, and I was part of it, look, he's not great, but he's certainly not that bad either. We could deal with the pop gun arm and the fall away throws and the nut slaps and the tripping and the faces and the and stuff. Just don't actively lose the game and melt down to the point you look like you want to get told. But Sunday happened. We got a second poll for you guys. This is a double poll week. Knew you knew that would be. Bonus poll question. What's ailing Mac Jones? This is interesting because there's a lot of people in various camps. How can you people say noodle arm's not the problem? 30%, 20%, 43%. You can read it there. We got comments. You know, no comments. We ran out of time. I've been babbling too long. But I will make this point about Mac. Worst case scenario is when you have a quarterback with limited arm strength who's not that mobile having to throw off platform. You got to protect the guy. You got to do everything you can to figure out a way to keep him from being put in bad situations. He can play, just not that way. Let's check out these two quick tweets from former Patriots executive, friend of the show, and well-plugged-in NFL insider Michael Lombardi. Does anyone still believe Daniel Jones can win a Super Bowl? Giants front office does. Read it along there, okay? You on to the next one? In fact, when the game got tougher, okay, he's intelligent, athletic, shows the skills needed to play the position, but he can't play fast enough when the game speeds up. So basically what Mike is saying is the Giants are in and over a barrel financially with Daniel Jones, and I wanted to talk about that because the Patriots are going to face the same thing soon with Mac Jones. What will their decision be? Here comes Rich Eisen. When I talked to you in July and you said, could Bill Belichick be on the hot seat? And I said, yeah, kind of. He already is. You were a little bit gobsmacked. Do you have your mind around that concept a little bit more differently now and see that it's kind of a serious, not possible. You still don't think it's a possibility, or I don't think it's a probability. I think it's on the table to start saying, I don't think we can keep going like this, Bill.
Well, obviously, if this is a 5-win season, you know, obviously you take a look at the Dolphins and the Bills. They have to play those teams 3 more times. The Jets come back in week 18 in New England. And one would think they'd be vastly improved based on just, again, 4 quarters, but maybe not. That's divisionally. Then you see the rest of this schedule. At least the good news for them is they've gotten the toughest part of the NFC East out of the way early on. That may be another issue of why they're 1-3, and that we can find out that the opponents that they faced so far, you just want no piece of. The Dolphins, as they were perfect to start the season, and then the Cowboys and the Eagles. That's why, again, I mean, things can change so fast. That's why I'm not one of those, I guess, knee-jerk type guys. I do have a set of eyes that causes me concern. The same thing I would say about Joe Burrow and the Bengals right now at 1-3.
I took the Patriots to win 31-23 because I said they were a victim of circumstance in the first couple of games. They're not going to keep playing dumb. They're not going to keep killing themselves and shooting themselves in the foot and getting these massive deficits. Because Bill Belichick teams are smart. They're situationally intelligent. Despite all the recent history I've seen, they're going to fix it. And not only did they fix it, Mac was a puddle in a way I've never seen him be a puddle before, with just a little helmet propped up on it. He was benched for performance, but also for peace of mind. Yeah. I think that he was going to have mental damage done by staying out there. So I don't care if they're 1-3 after 4 games, if I'm a Patriots fan, because I did not expect that. I do care if it's 38-3 and the quarterback looks like a puddle.
I hear you. But again, like I said, in the long run, do we find out that, you know, he's an equal opportunity Jones abuser, Daniel and Mac and Zach, you know, remarkably, Josh Dobbs performed pretty well against Micah Parsons. But then again, Dallas was also 48 hours removed from watching Trevon Diggs go down and being stunned about it. So again, like I said, let's just take a beat. It was a beat down. It was particularly difficult to see. I'm genuinely concerned about the Patriots in the same way I am about the 1-3 Bengals, because it doesn't look good. It hasn't looked good to the point where you're wondering where the pathway out resides. Certainly since you've lost a game to 3-1 Miami, you still have 2 more games to go against 3-1 Buffalo. You also have the rest of the teams that are currently on your schedule. So there is reasons to be concerned, certainly with New Orleans coming to town and that defense that can do to Mac in very, very simple ways what they've done to, Mac's predecessor.
Rich, I tallied them up. There's 9 wins on the table still. There's 9 not out of my mind wins on the table. There's Commanders, there's Raiders, there's Chargers, there's Giants, there's Steelers. I could keep going, but you guys get the point. There's another with the Jets. The team could still finish 10-7. It just doesn't feel like that on this particular moment.
Exactly. And I agree with you, because take a look at the teams, some of the teams that you mentioned. The Commanders are not just a W on the schedule, pal.
Right.
They are not. They are not. And they can, they can go ahead, because you are. And so they can put up points. The Chargers can put up points. The team that Mac Jones brought into SoFi a couple of years ago, when I was there with my family on a Halloween, and they punked the Chargers in Mac's rookie season. That team, to use a phrase from your town, is not walking through that door right now.
You see that picture behind Rich? That's from Network. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Great movie if you've never watched it. Just Google that part if you want to, because there's a lot of people saying that right now. Is Bill Belichick going to say that? Is Mac Jones? Somebody's going to say it down there. Cerrone will probably say it in a second. Here we go.